Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel, The Intersection. In this video, I will go over the ASP.NET validation controls, not all of them, but at least some of them. And I will be using an application that we have used before. If you have any problem on creating a web application, please let me know or join me in Zoom. And I will also show you how to enable the unobtrusive validation in your web application by using the web config method. So let's start. Here is the form that we have created before. It has a first name label and a first name text box and a last name label and a last name text box and a phone label and a phone text box and email label and email text box and submit and clear, and to just to see how this works. So here's the form as it is now without any validation. I can submit nothing. I can submit no first name, no last name, no phone, no email. So I can do that. And if I have a name and if I have a last name, I can submit that. So that's correct. That's what we want. We want somebody to enter something. So if they click without having any name there, they should get a warning that, hey, look, you need to put your first name and you need to put your last name. Now, how about the phone number? I can put a phone number like that, and that's not a phone number, so I can submit that. And I can put any email here, and I click and submit that. But that's not what we want. We want them to put a phone number. We want them to put an email, but we want an accurate phone number and an accurate email. So let's see how we do this. So here are the validation controls, ASP.NET validation controls within our toolbox. And what we will be using on this video, we will be using the regular expression validation. So we make sure that's an email and that's a phone number, an actual phone number, an actual email. And we will be using the required field validator. So we make sure that they enter the value in the first name, enter the value of a last name, enter the value for the phone and email. And we will use also the validation summary where we can have all the error messages, if there are, in the bottom. So we can see them all in one grouped box. And let's go to the best way to do it is to go to the source. So here's our control for the ASP.NET object control for the first name. And what I'm going to do here, I'm going to come here and create a span. Span is an HTML tag. I'm going to do it for each one of them. So I have added the span to the first name text right below the text box of the first name, right below the text box of the last name, right below the phone, and right below the email. But of course, you don't validate any labels. You only validate what the end user entered. And so let's add our required validator for each one of them. So here's the required field validator inside this span. So I just broke the long line so you can see it for the sake of the video. So here's the first span of the first name by the text box. And I just added the validation control there. I'm going to add them to each one of them, and I will be back with you in a second. As you can see, I have added them to each text box. So let's go to the design. Now we're going to go over the property of each one of them. Here is the first one. I'm going to right click and go to its property, first one. And this is the required field validator. Let's give it a name, first name. And here's the most important thing. Control to validate is first name. If you don't associate it with an object, you'll get an error message. And required that the error message, let's say first name required. Now I'm going to do it for each one of them and I'll be back. So I finished them all. I did the last name. Of course, the control to validate is the txt last name, and the message is required field validator. And I have also done it for the phone. And make sure the control to validate is you attach it to the txt phone. And I have also done the email. All right. And so now I have put this required validator, so they have to enter something. But again, for the phone number, they can enter anything. For the email, they can enter anything and it still will be okay. Before we test it, let's go over remind you of the unobtrusive error message. This, if I do not enable the unobtrusive, you will get this error message. So I have to add this rule into the web config because I'm using the web config method. There are other two methods, but I'm not going to go over those. But I'm going to use the web config method. Okay, so let me show you this error message. If we don't fix this, what would happen? So before I fix it, let me show you the error message if you don't add that line to the web config. And here is what you get. That's the error message. So you have to add to the web config this statement. So you go to the web config file and anywhere within the root elements, this is called the root element, configuration, anywhere. I like to put it in the bottom here and then just add the app settings, add key, and then validation setting, unobtrusive validation mode to value none. So let's see what happens now when we run it. And if we refresh, we don't get any. So now if we put a name and we don't put a last name, it's going to say last name is required. Phone is required. So if we would have anything here for the phone, it's going to be submitting it. I don't get the phone is required. If I get any email here and I click submit it, I get that. Now if I put a last name and then I submit, I get all of the data. But now we're going to fix this here, this phone number and the email, to make sure they're actual phone numbers and actual emails. So let's go back to Visual Studio and do that. Back to Visual Studio, and here are the two items I need to fix. The phone, it has to be an actual phone, US phone number, and an actual email address. So how we do this? By using the RegularExpressionValidator. So I'm going to take the RegularExpressionValidator and just put it right by, of course, the phone and the email. That's what we want. So here's the required, here's the first email, here's the first phone required. So I'm going to take this here and just put it right by it. Then I'm going to take RegularExpressionValidator, just put it by the email required. So now I got, for the phone, I have two. I'm using two. One is to make sure that they entered a value, and the other one is the regular expression for a phone validator. Now, do I need both of them? No, but just like this is like a demo video, so I'm showing them to you. So let's go ahead and fix this regular expression to make sure there is a phone. So I'm going to go to the property as I did before. And here we go. There's just to remind you, the property for the regular expression validator. And let's just give it a name. Let's stick it with the phone. And here is let's put something like invalid phone number. And here's the most important thing. Well, make sure that you do the control here. That's also important. But the most important thing here is the validation expression. So we're going to click right here and click on these ellipses and make sure that we find US phone number. Click OK. We do the same thing for the email. And let's give this an email, a name, add an email to it. And let's make sure that we put a message, invalid email. And validation expression is internet email address. Click OK. And control to validate is the email. Of course, the email has two and the phone has two. The first one is just required, so they have to put something in there for the email. Here's the required email, and we have to validate through the text email. Same thing that we did for the other one. Let me show you the last thing, which is I want to do in this video, is validation summary. Here's our validation summary. Make sure that put things inside the form itself, not outside the form. So the best way to do that is to go to the source. So we're going to make sure that we have everything within the form. And if we create a div tag here at the bottom, and we can drag a validation summary. Now, the reason I'm doing this in the source, because I want to make sure I'm within the form. It's very difficult to see it in the design here. But if you're on the source, it's easy to see. So now let's view it on the browser. And here we go. If I click submit, here's my validation summary. First name required, last name required, and I don't have to have those there anymore. And if I put a first name and I click submit, first name is no longer required. If I put a last name, submit, last name is no longer required. If I put any junk here, it's going to say invalid phone number. So if I put a number there that's in a good format, all right, and I click submit, and if I put anything here for the email, it says invalid email. If I put an accurate email number, and then it'll be okay. So if I enter an email with the right format, is no longer, it'll be submitting it. So everything is submitted the correct way. So that is how you do the validation and how you create a validation controls in ASP.NET. I hope you enjoy this video. If you need any, if you have any questions, please join me in Zoom. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you can get all the updates. Have a beautiful day. Bye-bye now.